It was an unlucky week 7 in NFL Survivor pools as favorites Buffalo, LA Rams, San Francisco, and Las Vegas all lost. We'll get you ready for week 8, which is filled with large favorites, but it doesn't mean that there's not a lot of strategy to consider. We'll go over it all coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants. Eric, we lost 10 this week. Could have been a lot more with the games you already mentioned. I'd like to think that the reason we had so many survive, we're down to 36, is because they all went with the Seahawks. We talked a lot about sticking with the Seahawks. Those folks all stuck with the Seahawks, and it proved out. We'll talk a little bit about some of the other the losses, but man, tell me what happened.
These guys came through. I wouldn't have been able to show my face if they didn't. It's not that where I thought we were helpful to people who watch the show and why we lost a lot less in our pool on a percentage basis than across the area. It's not that we said to pick Seattle this week. That wasn't a big deal, but we said it weeks ahead of time, looking forward in future value and saying, hey, you want to save Seattle for week 7 because week 7 was going to be really difficult. We could see it. There wasn't a lot of games that we had a lot of confidence in. So kudos to the folks in our pool and even the people who are outside our pool who picked Seattle. Let's get into it. A lot of interesting things to talk about in week 8. We have listed 9 teams who are possibilities for you to consider for week 8. We want to go this deep because some of you may have picked many of these teams because a lot of them are really good teams. Starts with Miami, the biggest favorite at home, 9.5-point favorites over New England, and then 4 teams that are 8.5-point favorites. That's Baltimore, Detroit, the LA Chargers, and Buffalo, all at home, except for Baltimore, who's at Arizona. Kansas City, they still are 7.5-point favorite at Denver. But what I'd like to start is these 3 games where I think you go a little bit more out on a limb. Dallas and Philadelphia are 6.5-point favorites versus the Rams and at Washington, respectively. But let's start with those plucky Houston Texans, 3-point favorites at Carolina. So one of the things I like to do, Michael, is who's Carolina playing this week? We couldn't do that last week because they were on bye. And I think they lost last week even, so they were on bye maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. I can't pull the trigger on this. Even though both teams were on bye, this is probably Houston's best game of the rest of the season, but I don't know if I can put my survivor life on Houston here. How about you?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, I really would like to think that Carolina, this is their chance to get a win, right? Coming off a bye, they're going to be all prepared. Yeah, I think stay away from this game.
Yeah, even if you're in a double league down the stretch where you play 2 teams a week, I can in good conscience recommend this pick when we have so many other picks that we like so much more. Quick comment about Philadelphia, 6.5-point favorites at Washington. Okay. The Commanders. Well, I have 2 commandments for you for Survivor. 1, never pick the Commanders. 2, never pick against the Commanders because they are so much Jekyll and Hyde, Michael. I can't tell. And by the way, when these 2 teams locked up, the Commanders had an excellent chance to win if they just would have gone for 2 with no time left in the 4th quarter. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, and this game is in Washington, right? And coming off a really embarrassing loss to the Giants, I'd like to think that defense is going to come together. The Eagles, had a nice win, but they've had a couple of tough games in a row. They could be a little bit banged up. Not sure what's going on there. This is not the time, I think, to pick the Eagles. If you've saved them this long, save them a little bit longer.
Speaking of saving teams, that's what I think you should do with Dallas, who's at home 6.5 against the Rams. Look, I get it. Dallas is coming off a bye and the Rams aren't. But Dallas has a ton of future value soon. In weeks 10 through 12, they face at home against the Giants, at Carolina, who we've just talked about is the only winless team. Then they host Washington, which don't want to pick against Washington. But anyways, so I'm passing on the Cowboys here.
Yeah, I agree. A little bit tempting, like you say, coming off a bye. Rams being home 3 games in a row and then going on the road. And really kind of a unfortunate loss, but you could blame it a little bit on that spot towards the end of the game that the Steelers benefit from. So yeah, I think the Rams are not like the Commanders, but a team that can show up really from week to week. So let's stay away from this game as well.
So Michael, we were watching all the games this past Sunday together, and I was watching this Ram offense, and I was really mad because in NFL DFS I had Cooper Kupp, and they kept throwing the Nakua, but I really think this Ram team is more dangerous having both of those two guys in the lineup.
Oh, very much so. I mean, I think they do miss Kyron Williams. You could see that the run game wasn't really, they weren't able to utilize it. But that, that didn't keep him out of the game. So yeah, the addition of Nakua this year opens things up for Stafford.
All right. So we picked 3 games, each of us. I don't know who Michael picked. He doesn't know who I picked that we like. And it's all coming from that top 6 games, the 6 highest favorites. Now, we're not going to just give you our favorite pick because maybe in your league, you already picked that team. So we're going to give you our 3 favorite.
I'll give you the 3 that aren't in my top 3, and then you can tell me if you agree with them. How about that?
Oh, okay. Oh, look at how excited. Go for it.
So I would stay away from Thursday night Buffalo Tampa Bay game. This Buffalo team is, a little bit hard to figure out right now. A rough loss this week. They had a nice little comeback, but it wasn't enough against New England. It was in New England, and we all talked about Belichick maybe finally showing up, and he did. Tampa Bay's coming off a bye. Stay away from the Thursday night game.
And let me comment on that. I agree. I agree, mostly because what you just said. I refuse now after getting eliminated multiple weeks ago on a Thursday night game. Just stay away from Thursday night game if you have other good viable options, and that is exactly the case. Buffalo does have good future value soon in week 10 and 11. So I'm in agreement. They aren't in my top 3 either.
Okay, next one is New England. Can they do a back-to-back in rival game against the Miami Dolphins? This game is in Miami, so not the benefit of being at New England like New England had against Buffalo. I don't know that they could do it back-to-back. This Miami offense is so impressive, but their running game looked pretty weak this last week. I'm not sure if they just couldn't get Mostert going or what. So Miami, tough loss this last week. Probably a little bit banged up from the Monday night game against Philadelphia. So Sunday night game. I think this is the next one that I'd say stay away from. You want to chime in there?
I will not chime in much because we have a disagreement. They are in my top 3, so I'll comment why I like Miami for Survivor so much this week. So go on. Who's the 3rd team that's not in your?
So for me, the 3rd one is Kansas City. I can't believe that I'm nervous about Denver. I'm not really that nervous about Denver. I do think Kansas City is really the cream of the crop right now, and enjoying it from a record perspective as well. This is a much needed reprieve game for Kansas City to be playing against a weak team like Denver, but possibility of a letdown after some really nice wins. And having to get prepared for, a tough couple of games right thereafter. So, they're going to be going to, I think, Germany next week, playing the Dolphins. They could look past this Denver game. Don't think it's a risk for them to do that because this Denver team has been so bad. But guess what? They showed up this last week. So that's the 3rd game that I would stay away from.
Showed up against Green Bay. I have little fear of Kansas City losing this game. However, I'm in agreement with you. I don't have them as my top 3 because of their future value. They have 3 games for sure, which are much better than this. But most importantly, I said it a while ago in week 7, we have another thing to watch out for. Week 7 was hard. Lucky week 7. Well, unlucky week 13 is a very difficult week. If your NFL survivor pool makes it that far, people are going to be really hurting if they don't have Kansas City, and most people won't. So if you've saved them this long, don't burn them this week when you have so many other really good options this week. Hold on to them. So we're in agreement. So we have 4 games left.
Yeah, tell us who you think we should save for the future, because I look at the other 3 games and I don't understand who you're worried about. So I'm thinking you're saving. So who else you want to save for future weeks?
Okay, Michael, let's just do a role reversal here. Let me sing the praises of the Las Vegas Raiders, your team, who should get their starting quarterback, Jimmy G, back. And the Detroit Lions will not have, again, their best running back, the one that they rely on when they get close to the goal line, David Montgomery. Look, they had a lot of problems last week with Baltimore, but that was one of them. So do I think Detroit's a bad team now? No, I still think they're good, but I think they're weaker without David Montgomery. I'd rather not use them now when they don't have David Montgomery. And Las Vegas is a little bit of a version of how I feel about the Commanders, right? I don't necessarily think that Las Vegas is a great team, but I think they're a dangerous team. And I do not think they're one of the weakest teams in the NFL at all. About, oh, this is a team I'll definitely be able to pick on. So honestly, if I had to have list 4, this would probably have been my 4th choice, Detroit, but I do like 3 other games more.
So I have to admit, I am a little bit, frustrated with my team, and that's part of what's going on here. Seeing really poor showing, 3-3 Raiders team going into Chicago, playing a backup quarterback who, he didn't really do much during the game, and not showing up at all. Really disappointed with my Raiders. Understand that they had a little bit to do with the quarterback being out, a little bit to do with the let up. But this Raider team, yeah, they've been able to go into Denver the last couple of years and get wins on the road. They've not been good on the road for a while now. And so I think Detroit's a hard place to go in and win. I think Detroit's going to bounce back. I hear what you say about the running back situation there. But I feel pretty good about Detroit getting this. But again, I am colored by my disappointment with the Raiders.
Okay. All right. So, well, we'll just do the drum roll. Keep people interested. Let's pick our bronze medal game. Who's your bronze medal game this week?
Well, for me, it was this Detroit-Las Vegas game. So okay. There you go. I put them in my top 3, but they were my 3rd. They're my bronze medal. Who's your bronze medal?
Okay, so full disclosure, I'm shocked that they're only my 3rd bronze medal, because for several weeks, I had targeted, I like to pencil in my predictions of where I'm going to go, but then I take in latest information, that it was going to be the LA Chargers this week that was going to be my pick, for sure, because I counted Chicago as one of the worst teams in the NFL. Chicago honestly has played a lot better, and you would think, well, wait a minute, they don't have their starting quarterback anymore. They don't have their starting running back or even their number 2 running back. But this Bagent undrafted rookie quarterback and Deontay Foreman looked very good against your Raiders. I know you saw a lot of that game. So that just causes me a little bit of concern. What I was going to say to you, Michael, in Survivor, don't you usually want to pick on a 2-win team where the quarterback last week threw more interceptions than touchdowns? Unfortunately, I'm talking about the Chargers, not Chicago. What's going on with this Charger team? Please explain it to me, because most people, including me, thought this was a Super Bowl contender, and they're 2-4 so far this year.
Brandon Staley, I have a hard time with some of the single division decisions that he's made. I thought bringing Kellen Moore was a huge decision. I thought having Austin Eckler back would be really big for them. Obviously, the Mike Williams injury, hurts, but Palmer had a fine game at the wide receiver position. Their tight end, Everett had a couple nice grabs as well. So I really feel like it's to some extent the play calling that's been happening based on what I've been seeing. and maybe some of the quarterback play. So yeah, I understand the concern with the offense, but I think that playing against a Chicago Bears with a backup quarterback who, maybe have shown some of their strengths and can be planned for is just what the doctor ordered. The game is in LA. This is my number 2 game. But I think the Chargers are going to take care of business.
Yeah, let's be clear. On watching that game, they kept things really simple for the rookie Bagent. They very safe throws. He had a very high completion percentage, but didn't throw for a lot of yards, but didn't make any mistakes. So let's see if this Charger and he played a lot of that game against the Raiders from ahead. So can the Chargers put some points on the board early? I mean, I know that they don't have Mike Williams, like you said, but they got Austin Eckler back. There's no shortage of weapons on this offense. There's no reason why they shouldn't be putting up a decent amount of points. So we'll see. So you already said that was your silver medal game. We haven't talked yet about my silver medal game, which apparently is your gold medal game. It is the Baltimore Ravens, 8.5 point favorites at Arizona. Look, folks, Dallas Cowboys aside, we were all right. Everyone in the community when we said Arizona is the worst team in the NFL. And I see you, Carolina, going, hey, what about us? But this is a bad team that just continues to get worse. Since they upset Dallas, they've been outscored 115-55. Now another weapon on their offense. Zach Ertz is going on IR. I have, and Kyler Murray, let's be clear, is still not coming back. It's looking like week 12. So right now is the time to pick against Arizona as long as they are playing a competent team. And I've been frustrated with Baltimore this year. They were my dark horse to go to the Super Bowl. That's how highly I've thought of them. But they really looked good against Detroit last week. Everything seemed to be clicking on the offense. I guess I don't need to convince you this is your gold medal game, but I like this game.
Yeah, I am right there with you. Lamar Jackson looked as good as he has maybe ever looked this last week up against a Detroit defense that hasn't really been atrocious like they have in years past. They have everything clicking. They're hitting their wideouts. They're hitting their tight ends. They're able to open up the running game, and their defense looks really good right now. Like you say, going up against a banged up, James Connerless Cardinal team that's not very good, even in their own building historically. To me, this is the game to go with. I think that Baltimore is going to take this, enjoy this momentum. So I really want to hear why this Dolphin games is so popular for you.
Miami's just such a better team than New England. The New England offense cannot keep up with this Miami offense. And by the way, it's a Miami offense that has, I know they don't have Devon A-Chain, but the most important ingredients are healthy, starting with Tua and Tyreek Hill and James Waddle and Raheem Mostert. I don't know, especially with Tua's history, how long can you expect that to be the case? So I know a lot of people have already probably picked Miami, but if you haven't, what are you saving them for? Stop it. Play them now. It's time to burn them. You've heard what I've said in previous shows, that they have a huge home field advantage, especially early in the season. I've looked at the weather forecast. 85 degrees is planned. It's going to be hot. And their sideline is going to be in the shade, and New England is going to be in the sun. And keep in mind that as we get later in the season, their home field, they have a lot of games on the road, which I just do not trust them. And the weather will get colder even at home. So that's kind of why I really like Miami. So I'm going to go Miami. as my gold medal pick. Please tell me why I'm nuts.
Oh, I mean, I told you already. My concern was just how good New England's defense looked this last week, and actually even their offense with the nice, late touchdown. Let's be fair. The Buffalo defense has been banged up, and you got to recognize that when you talk about how New England was able to put up points against the Bills. And I agree with you. They can't put up any more points than they put up against the Bills. And we know the Dolphins can. They should have a bounce back. I think your point about future value is noted. And because we feel pretty good about all these games, I just, to me, I guess I give way too much respect to Bill Belichick, and he showed me why I should give him respect with what he did against the Buffalo Bills this last week.
Well, let's talk about it. I think the 4 games that we like the most, I don't know if you would put Miami in the top as 4th.
I did.
This is the only game that is a division game. Baltimore's playing Arizona, Detroit's playing Las Vegas, and the Chargers are playing Chicago. How much of a factor or concern is that? I think I heard you once say, as the season goes along, it's a bigger deal. What do you think? Does that cause a concern at all, picking 2 division rivals?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily this part of the season, right? Because the New England's not trying for the playoffs this year, and they don't have a chance really to play spoiler quite yet, right? And so, New England got a big win this last week. They may be a little bit on a down going into Miami. So, you got me moving them from 4th to 3.5 with your arguments.
Oh boy. Well, so just to review for me, my order is the first game my pick would be Miami, then Baltimore, then the LA Chargers, and then Detroit. Yours?
Baltimore, then the Chargers, and then I think I had Detroit next.
Yeah. But you said Miami was 3.5. But I guess 3.5 is still behind 3. Oh, I'm so offended. But as always, we want to hear what you guys are thinking. Who are your favorite picks, regardless of who you have left, and who you have to pivot to because maybe that team is not available to you. Until we break down week 9, take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
We'll put 2 videos on the screen we think that you'll enjoy.